Okay. Started recording. Great. Okay. So twofold. So if all those new people have just joined, if you could put your microphones on mute, that would be fantastic. So twofold tonight. So yeah, all those questions that you probably want to know about how the competitions run, if you haven't played at Netball North Harbour or Hibiscus Coast, runs alongside Netball North Harbour now. So I'm going to run through all of that, and I'm also going to go at the end of this quick, well, it's not really quick, but this presentation, I'm going to go through the rotations for all the year 4 and 5 teams. There is a set way that we do the rotations, and you need to know how to do them, otherwise you'll get into trouble. So when I've finished the main general part of the comp stuff, I'm going to say goodbye to all the year 6 teams because they don't have to do the rotations. But for the year 4 and 5 coaches, if you'd like to stay online, and we'll just quickly go through those rotations so you're all on the same page with those. I have done another little video, might change it, not that happy with it, which I have put onto our website of how to do the rotations. So you don't have to look through the entire recording of this session to be able to check that video, and just when you actually start practicing how to do them, or when you get to that second week of what you meant to do with your players, that little video might be useful. All right, so I've got a PowerPoint presentation, and I'm going to flick that up onto the screen.
Oh my God, I can't see.
Okay, I'm just going to find this. We're going to go share screen, and I'm going to share this. Can everyone see that? I just want to go slow, right from the beginning. Okay, so welcome to 2023. Hopefully this will be a good season, and we won't have as much rain as we did last season. So firstly, everything starts in term 2 for your competitions, the second week of term 2. So the 1st of May is when we kick off with our Monday night teams. That's our year 4s at Northcote, and on the 3rd of May is our year 5 and 6s at Northcote, and on the 6th of May is our first Saturday at Westlake Girls, and on the following week, the 10th, I think it is, the Wednesday is when we start.
And then I've got to watch this thing for netball. Can you finish the dinner?
Could you just put your microphones on mute? That would be great.
The spuds are ready.
6th of May.
You just turn the sausages, I'll do the spuds.
Sorry, someone is talking away. If they'd be able to just...
I've got to watch this. I've got to be at this Zoom meeting.
All right. We do not play King's birthday weekend, and the school holidays we don't play either. Martiriki this year falls in the July school holiday, so that doesn't affect us this year, which is pretty good. Our competitions are year 4s, like I say, play on a Monday, Saturday, and at Hibiscus Coast on a Thursday. And the Hibiscus Coast teams for year 4 this year will be doing the rotations and playing 7-a-side netball. Previously, they've played 5-a-side, but now they're moving to 7-a-side. All these games for year 4, 5, and 6, I should mention, are 7-a-side netball. Year 5, you play on Wednesdays at Northcote, Saturday at Westlake, and Wednesday at Hibiscus Coast, along with the year 6 teams. They play on those same nights. Our round times. So when do you play? We have 50-minute rounds at Netball North Harbour and at Hibiscus Coast. Mondays is typically 2 rounds. We get through all the teams usually in those 2 rounds. It's a 4 o'clock and a 4:50 round time. Beware on a Monday that the year 9s come in and they play on the 4:50 round as well. So you get the priority for car parking on the Monday night because you'll be there first. But please be aware that the year 9s will be coming in for the 4:50 round. I think someone's got their phone. If you could just put your microphones onto mute, if that could be good, because I can hear somebody chatting away there. That's right. Wednesday, we've got 4 rounds: 4 o'clock, 4:50, 5:40, and 6:30. Typically, the year 5s go on the earlier rounds at the 4:50 time, and the year 6s are on the 5:40, 6:30. But they might cross over a little bit depending on the numbers and depending on some of the requests. Like, so we've got Waiheke who play at Netball North Harbour, and they have to play at 4:50 to fit in with the ferries. So
Hi,
there's a
Hi,
couple of
Teresa.
things like that.
Sorry. Do you mind flicking the screen? We can't. The slides are still on the first screen.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Sorry.
weird.
Thank you.
Is that working? So
No,
you're
not yet.
seeing.
You're not in presentation
Hold
mode.
on,
That's
let me
what I'm
just
trying to do.
let me
It's
stop
like a
sharing and let me just go back and
Yeah,
share
get
and
out.
check it's the right one.
Get out.
How's,
Get
how's that? Hold on. Is that better?
much better. Thank you. That's perfect.
Okay, cool,
Thank
great.
you.
Thank you. Thank you for pointing that out. Yeah, so the round times, I'll go back to, yeah, the round times are 4 o'clock, 4 rounds on Wednesday night, and on Saturdays morning on Westlake, they start at 8:30. That's typically the year 4s at 8:30. The younger ages start earlier, 9:20 for the year 5s, and possibly 10 past 10, and then 10 past 10, 11 o'clock for the year 6s. At Hibiscus Coast, now we've had some issues with the lights up there and we are hoping to have it fixed, but we're not guaranteed of that. So currently it's 450 and 540. However, if the light situation is an issue, we may bring those rounds forward again, just so that we can get through the night before it gets pitch black, which we can't really do in July, but we'll try our best. But we will update you on the lights at Hibiscus Coast. Okay. Now it's not going to go back. Okay, so now the only modification to the game for the year 4 and 5s. So year 6s, you do play on the big tall hoops that are 3 meters high, and you play with a size 5 ball. But for the year 4 and 5s, you tend to have a smaller ball. It's called a size 4 ball. Your schools should be supplying you with those, but if you are wondering about practices, or if you've got kids who want to get balls for that age group, that size 4 is the one to use. And your hoop height is a little bit lower. So what happens, you will have to turn the hoops around. We have lower hoops on one side of the post and the normal size, and then the year 4s will probably be facing the court for the year 4 and 5 teams, and when the year 6s come along, you're going to have to flip those hoops around. So it's a good idea to get some parents involved with that, just to turn them around. That's both at Hibiscus Coast and at Northcote, that you'll have to flip them around. So yeah, the higher hoop for the year 6s, but the other age groups are on the lower hoop. Year 6s do get to play in our arena at Northcote. I kind of put you through there and try and get you through a couple of times a year. But the younger teams can't, because we don't have that lower hoop in the arena. Yeah, so just be aware that you will have to flip them around. Now, when you come to the netball courts, we've got a control room at Northcote, and up at Hibiscus Coast there's a control room, and at Westlake Girls we're going to have a desk where you will see our staff members sitting. Year 6s, you do not need to report to the desk every week, possibly on the first week to pick up some gear, but for the rest of the week you don't have to report, because you do not have to pick up any team cards. But for the year 4 and 5 teams, you will need to go to the control room or to the desk to pick up your team cards, which I'm just going to show you what they look like. For year 6s, this is, so what happens, every team has players in that team, and they are set for the year. Your schools will be putting all those players into your teams. You will know who they are. We don't, and this is how we know who is playing in each team. You will fill out a team card every game when you turn up to the courts. Now, year 6s, your team card is online on our scoring app, which I'm going to show you shortly. And the year 4 and 5s, you still fill in a yellow card with the rotations on it. So that's why they need to report to the desk and the control room every game. So this is the scoring app. Okay, and this is also the same app that you year 6 teams will complete their cards.
Just hold on, I'm
Still
coming.
hearing some noises. Somebody, can some people please make sure their microphones are on mute? Thank you. So this scoring app, it is called My Netball Manager. You will find it on your store, what do you call them, App Store or Play Store. So you look for that and you can download that onto your phone, and it's a good idea for 2 or 3 people in the team to have this on their phones. Good idea that the coach has it, the manager, and maybe whoever is going to be your scorer, maybe 1 or 2 parents that come to the games who do the scoring.
Teresa, can I
Abby?
please ask, is there anything covered for year 3 netball?
Pardon?
Does this call cover anything for year 3
No, it's
netball?
year 4 and 5 and 6.
Oh,
Year
okay.
3, you don't
We're on the
have
wrong
a-
call. Will you have
Right.
anything for year 3?
Monday the 1st of May.
Solid question.
Oh,
Thanks.
yeah,
Perfect.
but you
Thank
don't,
you
you
very
don't
much.
score, so you're okay. So you're all right. Yeah. Okay, so you do need to download this app. And like I say, 2 or 3 people do have this on their phone for each team. You will get a scoring code or a team code to enter into the app, which will then bring up all your team's details. Those scoring codes or those team codes will come from your school coordinator. They haven't had the information on that yet, but I will be doing that at the beginning of next term. So when you're filling out your team cards for year 6s, you do it online on that app. It's a good idea to fill them out.
Oh, thanks, Holly. It's wonderful. Yes.
You fill them out before you start the game,
Abby, dinner.
and then you can submit it before the game starts. Once you submit the score at the end of the game, you can't make any team changes on the app, but you can, during the game, you can still make changes. And we would like to see recorded, please, the players that come off the court and the players that go on the court at halftime, if that's when you make your changes. And I'll show you how you do that very shortly. And the year 4 and 5, you just have team cards that you complete with a pen and you return them at the end of the game. So it's quite easy. Information on the scoring app can be found on our website. It can be found on this page under draws and results here, and it's this one here, and these videos are very good videos for you to see how you actually get your scoring app up and running and how to score a game, and we might have a look at some of those shortly. So, and it's not going to do it. It's not going to do it. So this was one of the videos, but this is the one how you select a team. Oh, it might work. Hold on. Here we go. Is this going to work? Bear with. Okay. Okay. Oh, it's going to work. So here you go. So this is the 2 teams. This is what will come with your draw on your app. So you don't have to look at the website. You can just look at your phone. And these are all the players that are in that team. And you can see that they've just selected who's playing on the day. And they're getting a substitute from another team. So you can select from another team, a player if you need another team.
Teresa, I think you can mute all if you need to. There should be an option to mute everybody.
Okay. Let's have a look. Anyway, I won't go through the whole video, but I might fast forward it. But that's how you kind of put your team changes in, and you can make changes throughout the video. But have a look at these videos that are on that page. This is one of them, and you can see how you're selecting the positions for the players here as well. So they can select this girl as goal attack, and you just select them down here. Oh, you can't see it because I've got my laser on. Anyway, but that video is on that page. We'll just pause that and move on. Okay, so yeah, go and have a look at those videos, how to select your team for year 6s, and for year 4 and 5s, you pick up this card here. These are in the control room. I usually cross out your rotation that you're not. This team here were team 1 rotation on the 3rd of August. They were defaulted on the 13th of August, so that's why I've got a note up there. And this is the next rotation they did on the 20th of August, and it shows you where the kids were playing. And you fill out that card and you return it to us. So that's for year 4 and 5.
I'm on a netball Zoom for netball. And then
Okay, so the other thing we've got here is
they can't hear me or see me.
another
I'm
app.
listening.
I'm just going to see if I can mute everybody.
Later for netball.
you that. Okay, so there's another app that you can download to your phone, and we are recommending everybody does it this year. It's called the Sporting New Zealand app. When you look on your App Store or Play Store, this is the one you're looking for. We can send push notifications to this app. We can also send them to the scoring app, but we're not sure where the notifications go, and we've had trouble finding them. So this one, when you download it and you set it up, it will ask you for the centre that you want to put in. So you put in Netball North Harbour, and then it will come up and you can access our website easily. You can access the notifications we might send out to it, as well as anything that's open for registration, like school holiday programs or coaching courses. You can quite easily access all the forms for it from there. So we are asking that at least the managers and coaches download this app. And because we can send out push notifications on game day as well. So if we did not get your team card submitted, we can push out a notification to that game and say, we need the team card for Browns Bay 6-2, or whoever it is that has not submitted it, because we can see at our end when the team card is submitted online. And it's also very useful if we were to cancel netball, for instance, we can send it out, a push notification out via this app. It looks like this when you download it onto when you open it up on your phone, and the alerts sit in this spot here, but this is our website. So that's the alerts there, that's our website, yeah. And so it's just another way of getting in touch with us or finding out information. So we do recommend that you do download that one as well as My Netball Manager. Okay, so we have some rules at netball, and these are the ones that you need to be aware of as a coach. These are Netball New Zealand rules and some of our own. So every player at primary and at intermediate must have at least half a game on court every week. So this is to stop having the strongest players on courts all the time and having weak players, also having people drive down and only having 10 minutes on the court, and parents coming down to watch them and only watching them for 10 minutes. It also, just allows, because kids will not grow or develop the game if they're standing on the sideline all the time. So over the 14 to 12 weeks, we also ask, it's 14 weeks at Northcote, 12 weeks at Westlake, and at Hibiscus Coast it's 14 weeks, that every player is played fairly over those 14 weeks. To stop the stronger players having lots of full games and the not so strong players having half games. And we monitor that, and we monitor it through those team cards. So you make your team changes on year sixes on that app, then we can see who's coming off at half, who's having half a game and who isn't having half a game. And when we look at it and we see something going on, we'll be asking questions. If you've got someone who's injured or just come back from a broken leg, that is completely fine. Don't expect them to be playing full games or whatever, but we just need to know. You can just make a little note on the app, for instance. You can make a little comment at the bottom of each game that Molly is recovering from injury or has been sick, so that's why she's had X amount, a few games. And for the year 4 and 5s, you can also just write on the card if there's anything there, or you just come to the control room and let us know, and then we're aware of what's going on. And this applies to all year 4, 5, and 6 teams, that every player has half a game at court when they come down, and that they play fairly over the entire competition. We have rules around boys. Boys are definitely allowed to play netball. You can have up to 3 on the court at once. So if you have 4 boys in your team, one will have to stand on the sideline. And the other rule we have with the boys is that you cannot have 2 of them in the goal circle together. So that is your goal attack and goal shoot, your goal keep and your goal D. So they can't play those 2 positions side by side in the goal circle. If they do, it's an instant loss by default in the competition round of the games. And when we get to the rotations, I'll show you, just got to be careful of that when you're doing your rotations. If you need to sub, you've got 8 players and 2 of them are sick, and you found that you've only got 6 players, you can borrow from teams that are graded lower than you. So if you are a 6-1 team, you can borrow from anyone below you, 6-2. You can borrow from 5-1. You can borrow from 5-2. If you are team 6-2, you cannot borrow from 6-1. Pretty standard for most sports. Yeah, so if you are stuck with substitutes or substitutions, or you have players that are out, I would talk to your school coordinator first, because they may know who the teams are that you can borrow from, or who has more players in their team, or you know, whatever. Depends also when those other teams are playing, if they play on the same night as you. If you have someone come from your team, that little video I was just showing you before shows you how you can select a player from another team, so it shows on your team list for that day in the app. But if that doesn't happen, you can just write a comment at the end of the game before you submit the score saying Molly Smith from T3 played, something like that. For the year 4 and 5s, you can just make a note. If you've got Molly from team 2 playing for team 5-1, put her name and then just put in brackets T2. So then we know that she's from the second team. You can have players join your team throughout the season. So if you have a new player that comes to the school and wants to join your team, you can register a child at any time to play for the team. You can do that on the night. You come to the control room, there's a little online form that you can do, and then we know that she needs then to go be registered into your team. And you can or if you have kids play, if you've got teams that play at kids play, they are not registered with Netball North Harbour. That's not an affiliated Netball North Harbour's competition. So anyone who's in a kids play team can play at Netball North Harbour, but you need to register them. They have to be registered on this form. They also need to register like you did with your kids on the school form that we have in Sporty at some point. But on the night, you can do it on the night and just do this little additional player form. If you do borrow from a higher graded team, and we do not know about it, because there are some teams like the 2 lower teams, if you've got 2 bottom teams and you've got the lowest team has no one to borrow from, we do give dispensation to the schools to allow the 2 bottom teams to borrow from each other, but the schools have to be in touch with us about that. And that's the only time we would kind of allow that to happen. But yeah, if you have any issues around finding extra players, go to the school first and see what they can do for you, and then they can ask the questions to me if you're really struggling. We only make team changes with our substitutes and stuff like that at half time for year 4 and 5. So don't make changes or team changes, bring players on who are standing on the sideline after the first quarter. You bring them on at half time only. For year 6 games, you can make them at the quarter breaks, but you've got to make sure that those kids still have half a game. So you can have a player on the first quarter and a player on the 4th quarter, and she's off or he's off on quarter 2 and quarter 3, but as long as they're having their half game. But for year 4 and 5, just make your subs at half time, because it makes it a hell of a lot easier for the rotations and doesn't confuse all the kids. So yeah, that's what we do for the year 4 and 5 teams. Our quarters, we do play quarters. They're 10 minutes long, 40-minute games. We have 1 minute between the first and second quarter and the third and fourth, and 2 minutes at half time. That is not a lot of time for a team talk. So we have suggestions like with your drink bottles that you get one of those drink bottle carriers, because you can keep all your drink bottles together and you don't have the kids running off to find parents to get their drinks. Keep everything together, and then you can quickly tell them what they're doing or what changes you're making and all the rest of it. We are on a central hooter for Northcote and at Hibiscus Coast. That is the timer. The hooter goes to say that the 10 minutes have started, but that does not start the game, okay? An umpire's whistle is what starts the game, and it is an umpire's whistle that ends the game, which can kind of come down to sometimes the goals, whether a goal has gone in or a goal has not. if you are not sure, if there are scorers are not sure that if a goal has gone in or has not gone in, they need to check with the umpire. There is a timer on the app when you start scoring. Ignore that timer. We work off the central timer. At Westlake Girls, you've got the 10 minutes as well, and we have air horns to tell you that the 10 minutes is now counting down. Now, not all the kids get on the court ready to start when that hooter goes off, especially in those first few weeks when they're all learning, where they need to go with their positions and rotations and things like that. The umpire won't start until the player's ready. So don't panic, especially in those first few weeks. You know, the hooter's gone off and yes, you know, everyone's still running around. That's fine. It just takes a wee while for everyone to work out where they're meant to go. And the other important thing to remember is year 4 and 5, you only swap ends at halftime. So you stay at the same ends in the first half, but the year 6s, you swap ends every quarter. So after the first quarter, the goal chute goes down to the other end, goalkeeper the other end, and yeah, every quarter, like the big games. But for year 4 and 5, only swapping ends at halftime. That one is a bit of a bone of contention because no one can remember. But if you're unsure of anything, go to the control room and ask us and we will tell you. So when we start playing, the first game's on the 1st of May, we're going to be playing quite a few grading games. And for the 14-week competitions, that's 7 weeks of grading. And at Westlake and Hibiscus Coast, probably around the same, maybe a little bit less, depends on the numbers and how my grades work for the competition round. But generally, we have quite a few weeks of grading. Reason being, it allows our players to settle into the game, to learn the game and work out what they're doing before they play for points. It also means that we get a really good idea of where the teams sit with rotations, and these young players, beginner players can pick up the game quite quickly and, you know, yeah, they can become reasonably strong quite quickly or not. So yeah, this gives us a really good idea of where everyone's going to sit for their competition round. So in the grading, I'm going to pretty much start everyone off where year 5 was last year, because that's the only thing I've really got to go with. And you're going to go into a grade, might be a colour, I don't know. But if you win, you'll go up a grade. If you lose, you'll go down a grade. And that happens over 7 weeks. That draw only comes out weekly because I can't do the following week's draw until I know what the results are. So, and who you're going to, and who you will be playing. So that happens for, like I say, 7 weeks. Towards the end of that 7 weeks, I may not move teams up and down. I might want you to play a certain team. So you might end up being in the same grade you were the week before, but playing someone you haven't played. If you are very strong at the bottom, I might move you up 2 or 3 grades. Likewise, if you're struggling at the top end, I might move you down 2 or 3 grades. I don't usually do that until we get to about the 3rd week. It's a bit hard to tell after one game what teams really like. There's some big scores that happen. So by the 7th week, everything starts evening out. Then we go into 7 weeks of a competition round. So you go into a grade and you stay in that grade for the last 7 weeks. Oh, I should say with grading too, I do not publish the results. You can take note of your own results, but I do not publish all the results. But when you go into your competition round, you'll be in the grade that you will be in for the rest of the competition. And I do publish the results, and that's when the points come into it. So if you win, you get 4 points. If you lose, you get none. If you have a draw, you get 2. And if you lose within 3 goals, you get a bonus point. So that is what the bonus point is. If you have to default a game, you lose, you get no points, and your opposition team gets 4 points. Yeah. So that goes into the ladder, and you can check those results and the points and stuff once we start playing in those competition rounds.
In the competition rounds, will you have a draw up at the beginning of that term 3?
Yeah, so I can publish the entire draw for the 7 weeks. However, I can't all get it done in 1 week because I've got like 4 competitions to do. So I will probably get the first few weeks out, and then I can definitely get all the 7 weeks out, so you will know exactly when you're playing and who you're playing in those 7 weeks.
Thank you.
Defaults. If you have to default because you are struggling with players and everyone's sick or whatever happens, we need to know by 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock at the latest, that you are defaulting. We do not accept defaults at 3 p.m. or if you do default at 3 p.m, you'll get a $50 fine slapped on the team. That is because we cannot get hold of the opposition and they may already be on their way to the courts. So you really need to make a call early in the day if you can field a team or not, if you come down with, if there's a few with illnesses, etc. Again, notify your school coordinator. They may be able to help you with extra players. If you are defaulting, a phone call is good, but I also like to have it in writing from an email, and that usually comes from the school. Please do not use Facebook or Messenger or anything like that, because we don't always check that so regularly. But definitely a phone call and an email is the best way to let us know that you are defaulting. That's for junior netties and Westlake, so we do need to know by the Friday if you don't think you can make it Saturday. If we do get a late default, at least with that app that I was talking about before, we could send out a push notification to a game to say that this team has defaulted and you don't have a game. If you have the app, if you don't have the app, you won't get that message. But we try to get hold of the opposition team before 3 o'clock. Otherwise, it's very hard to get hold of them. The schools are asked to put all your details into the system as well, the managers and the coaches of each team, but sometimes they don't. So we don't have a direct phone number to contact a manager or coach. But if something does come in late, then we will try and contact you directly if we can, if we have that information. You can take the court with 5 players. So if you get to the court and you've got a few people all stuck in a car on the traffic, but you know that they're on their way, but you have 5 at the court, you can start the game. And when they turn up, they can just jump onto the court when they get there. But if you cannot field 5 players, you will have to default the game. Please don't just walk off and say, oh, we can't do it, we're defaulting. You need to come to the control room and say, hey, we've only got 4 players that have turned up, the rest, whatever. So that's an automatic loss by default. The other automatic loss by defaults is the taking a player from a higher graded team, and also the 2 boys in the playing circle. So that's in the competition games. The grading games, you're not playing for points, so it's not really so important. But still, if you cannot field a full team, we do need to know ASAP. We do not defer games. So schools obviously have lots of camps and productions on throughout the year. I have asked the schools to let me know when they're having those camps and productions. If it's during the grading game, if a camp is occurring during a grading game and all your year 6 teams have to be away, what I do is I just leave those teams off the draw, which then can affect kind of where the seeding is for people. So you might end up going up extra grade because there's some teams missing or something like that. But when they come back, we sort it all out again. Productions, I can sometimes get an earlier game for teams if there is a production on or something like that. But if there is a mass like school event on, like I think there's a Bays festival or something, I can't put every team on at 4 o'clock who needs that request. So that often doesn't happen. So grading games, if you're away, I'll leave you off the draw. It's no big loss. But competition games, if you cannot be there, you will lose the game by default. We cannot, a deferment is when the game is rearranged for another date or time. We do not do that anymore because it was just getting ridiculous, too hard, because people cannot find a day or a time that suits. And it has to be done before the end of the competition, so we don't do those anymore. Yeah. Any questions so far? You can take your things off mute if you need to. Yeah, no, all good. Okay, so scoring. We don't use this scorecard anymore. Although if the power of something was to happen, yes, I don't know, we can revert to the old scorecard. We use the new app. And I'm going to quickly show you this video, hopefully it works, which is on that page, and it shows you how the scoring works, okay? So when you get the scoring My Netball Manager app up and running and you put in your team scorer code from the school, your draw will come up. It won't show a draw, it won't show the games until the draw is released. So once I hit the release button, then it will show up on your app. If you've got the scoring app from last year, the old games are still there. They will slowly disappear into the background as the new games come on board. If you have the old app, there is 3 buttons at the top where you can enter the new scoring code for this year. So you'll have a new scoring code for the team for 2023. So ignore 2022, you go to 2023. So I'll just quickly show you this one.
Sorry, Teresa. Do we get the
Is what you're
scoring app
talking about
from our,
only
Sorry?
do we get the scoring app from our school? Is that right?
No, you get the scoring app, you download it from on your phone, from the Play Store or the App Store, depending on whether you're Android or Apple.
Yeah, yes. Sorry, I mean the code. Sorry, the
But
score.
the code comes from the school.
Right. Okay. Cool.
But Teresa, what you're describing is only for year 6?
No,
Year 5,
for
year
year 4 and 5.
paper.
So year 4 and 5 will be using this app to score as well. They won't do their team cards on the app. Only year 6 do the team cards on the app. So that video I showed you before is how you select your team. That is for year 6s only. But for scoring, everybody uses this.
So year 5, we've
Yep.
got a card and an app.
Yeah, the card is just to write down your rotations, but you score using this.
Okay.
Yep. So, and this is what it kind of looks like. So you log in. If you've got it from last year, you don't have to re-register. Yeah, you should already have it on your phone. So you just username is usually your email address. And then this is when you enter the scorer code that your school will give you. And that's what the draw will look like. So yeah, so that's pretty much how you set the app up to register to use it and put your scorer codes in. We will have the scorer codes at the control room as well. So if someone turns up and you don't have somebody with the app that can do the scoring, they can download it and we can give them the code and away they go. But we do suggest that all managers and coaches have this too, because it's got the draw on it. And then you can also see some information after the game, who played and what the score was. So we'll show you that in a minute. heck? So, yeah, so that just tells you the scorer codes will come from the school. If you've got any questions about that? So scoring a game, it's quite easy. Well, then I say it's easy practice, but it's just changing the centre pass to do that. So start the game, and that's the timer on the app. You ignore that. Don't follow that.
Sorry, Teresa, what's the name of the app? Because I've got my netball manager from last year, but this
Yep.
looks a little bit different.
That's the one you use. So if you've got it from last year, when you log in, you just tap on those three dots at the top right-hand corner to put your new score code in when you get it.
Okay, good.
Yeah. So it just goes through and you just hit the goals as per. I'm just going to see if I can get it to move along. No, you can't. What they're also recording here are the misses, and they're also recording who scored the goal. I'll just pause it there. You do not need to do that, okay? That's for statistical purposes. This is primary. You probably don't need to worry about it, but if you want to do it, you can. But I would just hit goal shoot and forget the misses. It's as long as the score is the same, because there's two scorers. Anyway, we'll just carry on with this a little bit. So if you do accidentally hit a wrong goal, you can just click on the goal, you can delete it, or you can change the time, whatever it is. But yeah. So you just click on one of those goals if it's an accident, and then it'll bring up that other thing and you can just delete that goal. And so what it's saying here is if you've got two scorers on the same game, and if one of the scorers accidentally sort of delays entering the score will come up red. It will change to red. And that happens quite a lot, but as long as the two scorers standing together agree on the score, see how that's gone red 6-5, just means there's been a delay or someone's missed a goal or added a goal. But as long as if you've got the two scorers standing together and they're doing the scoring together on separate phones, if it does come up red, don't worry about it, but as long as the score is exactly the same, it's all good. Can come up because there's a delay when they hit that goal.
Sorry, quick question. When you say two scorers, do you mean two scorers from the same team or one from each opposing team? Okay, cool.
You've both got the phones. Yeah.
Thanks.
So when you pause the game, it will ask you this question, which is who had was a goal just scored? Most of the time the answer is yes. But if a goal has been scored and the next centre pass has not been taken, the answer is no. But if you are unsure, you just ask the umpires and they will help you with that. But most of the time the answer is yes. And that's where they swap the odds and the evens. It's to do with the centre pass. So this is where you can make changes. So for our Year 6 teams, you click on that little My Team, and then you can make the changes as follows. Year 4 and 5s don't need to do this. And then you start the next quarter, and away you go scoring again. Oops, so this is where it's saying you're ending the game, and this is where you can add a comment. So if there's a player that's played up and you couldn't find her, she's not registered anyway, write her name in here, say Lily Smith, Team 2, or something like that. You can write comments like nice game, but we don't really need that. It's just if there's anything to do with the players, or if the phone has died, and there's only ends up with being one score, you can just say one scorer. It doesn't really matter, the score will still be submitted, but as long as you both agree on it. So this is where you can go, you can actually, this is as a coach, you can then actually get the final score submitted in a PDF. You can share it. So it's got all the players who played for you on that day, plus the score for that day. If you are interested in going back to see what actually happened. And this is on the website, the scores are displayed. So this blue here means that the game's in play because this is live scoring. The green means the game's finished, and this game means there's a score when it's in red like that. So we will then be asking the team what's going on, what happened. So but have a look at those videos again next term, because you might forget now by the time you start playing, and we will be around to help on those first few weeks. But yes, so make sure one that you're scoring the correct game. So when I put the draw up for all the competition games, you'll see all of the games. So make sure you've got the right game that you're scoring for. Ignore that timer on the app. And there are 2 scorers. So the 2 scorers are from each team. They stand together in the middle of the court where the centre circle is, on we call the bench side of the court, which I'll show you shortly. And as long as they are agreeing on that score and the score is the same, we are happy. Even if that score goes to red, but you've both got the same score, that's all good. And like I say, comments at the end of the game if there's anything that we need to know. Like I say, recommend that everyone will be using the app, year 4, year 5, year 6 to score the games. Recommend there's a few people that have it. The umpires will still need to check the score occasionally to do with the centre pass. So that's why we want you in the middle of the court bench side so they know where you are if they have to check that score. And if you do mark up the score, or something happens, just don't panic. You can always fix it up in the break, or you can go in and you can delete goals and you can add goals if you have to match your, if you know that you've missed a goal or you added one by accident or you added it on the wrong side, you can fix it up. And then at the end, both teams submit the score and it comes through to us and we can see what's going on. Team benches. So the team bench, if you kind of imagine a Mystics game, you've got your team bench in the middle, which are the scorers and the timekeepers, and then the 2 teams are sitting on either side of that team bench. That is the team bench side of the court. So at Netball North Harbour, all the team benches are the motorway side of the court, and at Westlake and at Hibiscus Coast, they are the northern sides of the court. Yeah, so there's a couple of reasons why we do that. One is so we know where the scorecard is if anyone comes out to check it, or the umpires need to check it. 2, it means that your players, your substitutes, should be with you on the team bench side of the court, and all your bags and all your gear should be on that side of the court with you, not at the ends of the court, because there's no room to store bags or equipment at the ends. So all the drink bottles and everything are on the side of the court, and then all the parents are on the other side of the court. There's a good reason for that, to help you guys a little bit. And also because we do not have a lot of room between the courts. And if we have everybody from 2 courts and one in the middle of it, you can't move. So this is spreading people out and making sure we've got space around the courts as well. That is up on the website for Northcote, and I can find the Westlake one and put that up as well. But northern side for Hibiscus Coast and northern side for Westlake. Uniforms. All players must be in their uniforms playing. Boys wearing similar colours to the girls. We don't mind thermals being worn as long as they're kind of all the similar colours. They're not doing multicoloured things on the court. Sports shoes are really important. A lot of injuries are caused by incorrect footwear, but they can't play in bare feet. We do have a shoe box at the Netball North Harbour courts where if you do need some shoes, short notice or whatever, we might be able to find something there. But definitely sports shoes on the court. On the really wet, windy days, we do not mind players wearing jackets or jerseys, but as long as the bibs are over the top of those jackets and jerseys. And we will put out a call if we on the, from the control room saying, hey, that's fine for this tonight. But yeah, hair has to be tied back. That is a rule in the rule book. Plaits tied down, and I keep saying every year when those kids go off to Fiji in July, they come back with all those beads in their hair. Everything like that has to be secured down so they're not flying around flicking into people's faces. Definitely no jewellery. There is no taping of earrings allowed at Netball North Harbour, never has been. So please tell all your kids not to get their ears pierced until after netball is done. If they get their ears pierced, they will have to take the earrings out. And we don't like telling kids they can't play because they've just had their ears pierced the day before. So please, no getting ears pierced during netball season. No plaster cast. We've had people come up to the control room saying that doctor said it was okay that they could play with plaster cast on their arm. Nope. All those rubber band things they have around their wrists, everything like that has to come off. Fitbits have to come off. The only thing that can be taped are the medical alert bracelets or medical alert necklaces, but everything, no adornments anywhere. On the sideline, as a manager or coach, it's quite handy to have a little bit of a kit with you that has nail clippers, hair ties, plasters. Plasters because blood is not really allowed on court. And if a player is bleeding, at least you can put a plaster over and it's covered. Nail clippers and hair ties for obvious reasons. We do have a physio at Northcote located in what we'd call the SIC clinic. That stands for Sports Injury Clinic. And that's downstairs, and they often have a chili bin outside with ice in it. So if you need ice, you can go there and get it. Junior netties, we have first aid. Junior netties is Westlake. We have first aiders on site, and you're also very close to the Smells Emergency Clinic there. And we have ice packs there as well. And at Hibiscus Coast, we also have first aid people and ice there as well. So ice tends to be the best thing for fixing something, fingers, etc. The other thing just to note too, that if you do go to the physio or anywhere like that, if it's an under 16-year-old, they do need an adult with them to sign forms for ACC if that has to happen. So if mum or dad are not available, then one of the manager or somebody like that will have to step in. Okay, any questions on that so far? All good? Okay, umpires. Now this is a big thing here at Netball North Harbour. All year 4 and all year 5 and all year 6 have to have an umpire for their team. 2 umpires on every game. Most of them are children and young and are learning because this is where they start at primary. So If you have a young umpire, make sure that that person has someone, a support person that they can turn to on the sideline if things start going bad. And then that support person can go to the control room, and then we can come out and see what is going on. Okay. As a coach or a manager, you are not to approach an umpire about their umpiring or to ask any rules. If you do not know a rule, I suggest you start learning them. You can learn them through the rulebook, or we've got some videos on our website. If you are not sure about a rule, go to the control room and ask us, and we will tell you. If you are having issues with the umpire and you think something's not quite right, please come to the control room or the desk, and we will go out and have a look. Remembering that some of these kids are learning, they do not see everything on the court. They tend to be quite ball focused if they are just learning, and do miss things. But if you are not happy, please go to the control room. Do not approach them or do not say anything to them. The only thing you can say is say thank you for your game, or, you know, definitely give them praise, you know, and thank them. But any issues, we deal with it, not you. If you are a coach and your umpire hasn't turned up, you can umpire your team if you know the umpire's on the way. We don't really like it. It's not the best thing to do, but sometimes it does happen because of just what happens on the night. If you do find yourself in the position where you have a whistle in your mouth, you cannot coach your team while you are umpiring. You can coach them at the break, but definitely not when the game's on you know, happening. So we don't have a pool of umpires. We do have a lovely lady, Sharon Fraser, who is the one that runs all our umpiring courses and things, and she has a number of umpires who are looking for games, or she has them allocated to some games, but they may be free in other rounds. So if you do find yourself in the position where you need an umpire on the night, go to the control room or to the desk and say, my umpire's sick and I've just found out, or whatever. Or email Sharon earlier in the day if you know that you're going to be short an umpire that night, and she can find you one if we can. But on the night, you certainly come to the control room and we'll see what we can do. Like I say, if they're hanging around between rounds, we might be able to get them on your game. Or if you find, you've got the whistle and you don't really want to, let us know. We will send somebody out there. Not guaranteed that we'll have enough on the night, but we tend to find somebody that can help you out. If you end up in grade 1 and year 6 in the competition round, we will be checking your umpires. But we will do that when we get near the time. So, and your umpire, if you have an umpire, she will be moved to another game. So your umpires are actually neutral in grade 1 for year 6. That's the only grade we do it for. And it's more for the welfare of the umpires to make sure that they can handle the sideline. They don't have to be qualified umpires to umpire at primary, but we do recommend that they go to an umpiring course and at least learn theory. Okay, so they know at least the rules, but all these umpires do need to start somewhere, and it tends to be at the primary games. Coaches and managers, like I say, are not to approach umpires. The only person that can approach an umpire is a team captain, but these are kids, so they probably don't do that. And we follow all the same rules as we do in the international rulebook: footwork, held ball, etc.
Sorry to interrupt, just on umpires. If we have our own umpire that we've got through school, or, you know, older sister or whatever, and they don't have a support person, can one of our, like our manager or coach or something, be their support person just in case?
Absolutely. Just someone, an adult that they've got on the sideline, so if they need help, or that person then can go to the control room for them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but if it's,
they can't do it in the middle of the game. But sorry?
If it was a coach to support them,
yeah,
is that okay?
Oh yeah, if you can talk to your own umpire,
yeah.
But it's just if you're approaching an umpire you don't know,
Yeah. Okay.
That's where we don't like it, especially when they start telling them that they're not doing
Oh,
something right.
Yeah.
Because it's
Right.
nine times out of 10, the kids actually know what they're doing and they know the rules. But sometimes the adults are the ones who don't know the rules. And
Great.
that's
Just wanted to know if we can support our own. But
oh,
that's cool.
absolutely support your
Amazing.
own umpires, yes, if it's
Thank
positive.
you.
Yeah. And if they need help, then but just having someone that can run to the control room for them if there's issues going on the sideline or in the court that they can't deal with. That's what we mean by having a support person, because we can come out and we'll have a look and see what's happening. Yeah, so we do follow the rule book, but I mean, in terms of footwork and stuff, but this is primary, they are all learning. We're going to have some beginner kids out there. So during those grading games, we tend to be a bit more lenient with our rules, particularly if it's, well, you can tell straight away if it's a beginner game or beginner team, they have never played before. The leniency comes in things like the footwork, because if every player is stepping, we can't really blow the whistle because the ball will never get to the end of the court. So some of the umpires will show some leniency based on that footwork. The held ball, we might hold it for a bit longer than the 3 seconds. And yeah, just while the kids are sort of learning, especially during the grading games. By the time we get to the competition games, we tighten up on all those rules because the kids have been playing for about 7 weeks by that stage, and they should be getting better. And most of the time they are, well, every time they are. And the skill level gets better as well. So we do have some leniency at the beginning. So cancellations, never cancelled, very rarely cancelled. Do not ring the office at 10 o'clock in the morning if it is raining. Okay, we will stop answering the phones because the phones go mad on a weekday. We make a call at 1 o'clock if we're going to cancel. We make it in the afternoon. We look at about 4 different weather sites. And if we decide to cancel, we will put it up on social media. We will push out that push notification to that app that I talked about. And we will email the schools. So that is how you can find out if netball is cancelled. Like I say, it's very rarely cancelled. Saturday morning, very rarely, never, because you're under a cover at Westlake Girls. But please tell your parents, do not ring the office. We will let you know if it's cancelled. But a bit of rain does not mean cancellation. So some other notes just to take note of is that we do have a roster system working at the Northcote only, not at Hibiscus Coast or at Westlake, where we ask parents to help us with health and safety at the courts. It's mostly to do with the siblings of the players who tend to be unsupervised and they're running around climbing fences and doing all sorts of things. Or if a roster person sees something happening on court, they can just report it to the control room and we can go and have a look. But every school will be rostered on and parents help, and it's a shared role, so it's not too hard. There are rules at the courts. We don't have dogs, no puppies. People say, oh, it's only a puppy and they're holding it. I'm not putting it on the ground. No dogs. Only the service dogs. No bikes, no scooters, no smoking, no stiletto heels, no pointed umbrella ends in the ground because we have rubberized courts. And if we put a hole in that rubber, the water gets in and we get damaged courts. So that is the reason for the stilettos and the umbrellas. Up at Hibiscus Coast, I think there's also no dogs. Westlake are definitely no dogs, and they have the same rules as us, no chewing gum, all that sort of thing. The arena, if you're playing inside year 6, you do not have any food or drink in there, only water, and no stilettos on the wooden floor either. So parents with the and wet days, umbrellas not to be taken across the wooden floor, dripping all over the wooden floor, making it slippery for the players. We say no food on courtside during primary. What we mean by there is chips and hot dogs, because the chips get knocked over by a ball and they scatter everywhere and then they get munched into the courts and it becomes a real mess. Interesting inside Northcote this year, the the building itself, we have no carpet at the moment because we got flooded back in January and it's all been ripped up and there's no replacement carpet in the country yet. So so that's going to be interesting when the chips get mushed into that concrete inside. But anyway, just be aware of all that. Yeah, making sure young siblings are supervised. Often they're not, but that's when our roster people help out. The function room upstairs is open and the rooms at Hibiscus Coast are open. And the warm-up courts at Northcote are usually the front courts 3, 4 and 5. At Hibiscus Coast, we may have the odd warm-up court. If you don't, it's unfortunately just that concrete area in front of the courts or around the building. And at Junior Netties, I've been able to give you a warm-up court, at least one for a couple of the rounds, not all the rounds, but a couple of the rounds. Westlake also has some toilets there as well, so plenty of facilities, and also you're undercover, so it's quite good. The car park, okay, it's a huge issue, and unfortunately we do not have the Maori wardens anymore. They have refused to come back because of the abuse that they have taken over the last few years. So good luck, that's what I can say. So allow yourself plenty of time to find a park when you come down here. Anyone on a 4 o'clock round, it will be quite good. After that, it gets a little bit harder. At Westlake Girls, we use the car park by the office, by the Smales Farm bus entrance. If you go in there, that is where the parking is for Westlake. There is another park between the soccer ground and the netball ground, but they like that to be used for soccer and hockey. So if we can use the top parking area. And yeah, Hibiscus Coast, unfortunately the lighting at Hibiscus Coast and the car park is an issue as well, but that is to do with the council, because it's all shared facilities with the tennis club and everything up there as well. It is very poor, so do take care walking through that car park, especially with young children, and the same at Northcote. Please don't walk down the middle of the car park. If you can use the footpath, please. Kids could get quite easily knocked over if they're not seen in that car park. Right, so we have touched on it, games. If you have any issues during a game, please come to the control room. Please do not feel it's right to approach the opposition coach or manager or umpires. And positive and encouraging words on the sideline. Any umpire related problems, and yeah, go to the control room. And Sharon Fraser is the lady. If you get stuck with any umpiring queries or issues, or if you're short, she is the one to email. Her email address is Sharon at netballnorthharbour.co.nz, but that's the one, and or your school coordinator might be able to help with umpires. The draw is on the website on that, like where I showed you, but it's also on your scoring app now, so you can see it there. And just make sure everyone knows when they're playing as well as your umpire. And if you default a game, please let your umpire know as well. Umpires turn up and not know that the game is defaulted. So before the game, our year 4 and 5 teams, if you can please report to the control room to pick up your card. Your year 6 teams, if you can please get your team sorted on the app. Make sure the nails are taken care of, the jewellery, the hair, and the kids have been to the toilet and they're not doing it 2 minutes before the game's about to start, and that you've got your scorers in place and they have their score code all ready to go. You only need to enter that score code, by the way, once at the beginning of the season. During the game, let's make sure the 2 scorers are standing together. Send someone to the office when things are not happening well. Things like drinks trays is really useful. Plastic bags or whatever to put jerseys on wet days and things like that on those wet days to keep everything off the wet ground. No bags stored at the end of the courts. Everything's stored on the sideline. And please, coaches, no pacing up and down the side of the court, okay? The kids will learn the game. They will pick it up. They don't need to be yelled at constantly by their coach throughout the whole game, And the reason we don't want you pacing up and down is because you'll be walking into the space of the other team and walking in front of other people and probably yelling in front of them, and they get frustrated and angry with that as well. So please just stay in one spot, and your kids will work out. Apparently, if you yell at them too much, they'll just switch off and stop listening anyway. So yeah, just stay put one spot. And after the game, make sure that the scores are submitted and the team sheets on the app for year 6, and the year 4 and 5, if you can please return the team cards. If you happen to take it home, don't panic. Just bring it back the next week, because we've got a list, and if we know whose cards haven't been returned. And then take everything home. So please pick up the drink bottles. We've got so many lost property drink bottles. It's unreal. So please make sure everything is picked up, taken home. That's another reason why team bench side, keep all your gear together so it all gets removed at the end of the game. Yeah, make sure the kid, eating, drinking before the game, not having the hot chips 5 minutes before the game starts, but maybe at the end of the game. This will happen, okay? You will end up playing some teams where kids are much taller or much shorter. And this is why one of the reasons why we do the rotations for the year 4 and 5. But yes, it's just part of life for some of these kids. Careful of what we teach out there. I'm sure you guys would be wonderful coaches on the sideline. We'll have all sorts of great games going on, and of what you portray. So, I mean, this can be me sometimes because I coach myself. So I've got to be careful of what I do on the side of the court, remembering that there's not a lot of room on the side of the court and everyone can hear everything, and parents and players, etc. So, yeah, just be careful. Throughout the season, if you play a team that you think, because what I have is a Fair Play Cup, and I can't watch every single game and team every week. So I asked teams if they've played a team that they thought was absolutely wonderful to play. They had great sportsmanship, the spectators were wonderful. You can nominate them for the Fair Play Cup and they will go into the draw at the end of the year. So please just email me or go to the control room and say, we'd like to nominate this team because of this and for the Fair Play Cup. And that's something just to be aware of throughout the season. I will remind you throughout the season because you probably forget, but yeah, that's that. And some other dates coming up that you may be aware of or not aware of, but you're more than welcome to register teams for. So the first one is our junior pre-season tournament, which is on Sunday the 30th of April for year 4 to year 6 teams. You do not need to register through your school. The registration form is open now. But yeah, that's completely up to you. There's no rotations or anything like that. It's a fun tournament, just getting the kids out there playing, learning the game. Yeah, so it's quite simple, that one. The year 6 field day is just for year 6 teams only, and that's a Wednesday. So those teams are entered through the school. If you want your team to take part, just check with the school to make sure that they're going to register the team. It doesn't have to be the registered team that plays on a Wednesday or Saturday. It can be a mix, the school might mix the teams up, I don't know. There's a mid-season tournament. Again, you don't need to go through the school to enter that. That's on Sunday the 2nd. And then we've got an end of season, if you're interested in that, but that's way down the line. We also have umpiring courses. So we've got school holiday programs. Oh, Mr. Nay. Umpiring courses, and there's also the school holiday program for year 1 to year 7 kids. First week, second week. I think the first week might be closed, but definitely the second week might still be open to register. But that's always quite good for kids to get involved in and play. And these umpiring classes, adults can do them too. So if someone's thinking of umpiring, it's a good one to do. And right at the end of the year, we have a prize giving at Northcote. We only invite the winners and runners-up of each grade because we don't have enough room, but that's miles away. We don't need to worry about that just yet. But please follow us on Facebook, Instagram, because we often put lots of notices out on that, as well as our website for information and the app. Yeah. And yeah, that's.
Can I just ask a quick question about the tournaments and the pre-season? So if you've got a year 4 team who's playing at Kids Play, can they still play in your pre-season?
Yes, it's open to anybody. It's open to Rodney,
whoever. Okay,
Auckland,
cool.
Waitak teams.
Yeah, okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah. Anyone else got any questions?
Yeah, hi, can I please ask, can we please have a look at the dates for year 5 again, because I missed it because the screen wasn't changing?
Okay, so year 5,
Thank you.
what I'm going to do is I'm recording this, I'm going to put this up on the website, and it's also the dates on the website. So you start, year 5 starts on the, are you playing at Northcote?
Well, that's what I missed. I'm not quite sure.
Okay, so Northcote, you start the 3rd of May, that's Wednesday. If you're playing at Westlake, you start the 6th of May.
So how would I find out?
How do you find out? You talk to your school coordinator and
Oh,
ask
right,
them if she's
okay.
into the team.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
that's all good. All right, so any other questions? There's a lot, I know.
Yes, hi there. Sorry. Just wondering, we were meant to, I think, collect our packs if we saw you in person.
Okay, so this is one thing. Okay, so that's one book. This is the year 6 book. You may, I'm not going to give these to every team. I'm just going to have these available if you want one, because you've got the app now, and the app records everything in it that you probably would have recorded in this. But if you would like to pick one of these up, we will have them available soon, probably week 2 of the school holidays from there. So there's week 2 and the first week of term 2. You can pick them up from Netball North Harbour. Okay, this one is for year 4 and 5. This is your Bible, and you have to have one of these. And I will be giving every team one of these for year 4 and 5, because this is where the rotations come into, which I'm going to cover very quickly shortly. So I'm going to have these available probably week 2. I'm going to put a notice out to everybody to let you know when you can pick these up. Okay, so you can pick them up before the season starts. If you don't pick them up before the season starts, you can pick them up on the first night of your competition. They will be sitting there waiting for you. Okay. The other thing we may have is some Player of the Day certificates. I'm just working on sponsors for that. So we will have some of those hopefully for teams to pick up as well. So the first night of the competition, if you haven't picked up either that one, if you're definitely year 4 and 5, and if you want one of those, report to the control room or to the desk on a Saturday and grab them, unless you pop into Netball North Harbour at Northcote and pick them up before the competitions start.
Teresa, at Edith Hopper at Harvest Coast, there's been some confusion in the last couple of years whether centre passes are alternate or
they are all alternate centre passes. Yeah, no, all the, so what you might have been playing is the modified game for year 3 and down, where whoever scores the goal, the team that doesn't score the goal takes the centre pass. The year 4 and 5 and 6, it's alternate centre passes. It's the normal rules of netball.
Fabulous, thank you.
Why on the app it shows you who has the centre pass, and it flicks over once that centre pass and a goal has been scored.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Any other questions? All good? Okay. So if everyone's all good, the year 6s can leave, and I will just very quickly go through the year 4 and 5 rotations and show you how you very quickly do those. So thank you, year 6s. You can go and.
Thanks, Teresa.
You're welcome. I'll see you at the court, year 6s.
Cheers.
And you'll be going, yay, we don't have to do those rotations anymore. Yay. Okay, for the rest of you, I'm going to share the screen again. Okay. Can you see that? Okay, so, okay, rotations. So like I said, that yellow book is really important, and you will get one for your team. Doesn't matter if it's the coach or the manager that does the rotations. The rotations are, I mean, this is why we do them, the sizing. They also learn to play attack and defense.
Sorry,
And,
the presentation still shows remember to have fun for us.
oh, does it? Why does it do that? Let's go back, share. What can you see there?
The presenter mode, so we can see the slide and the next slide that's coming.
Can you see why rotations?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So there are a few reasons why we do the rotations, and it's learning all the positions on the court, learning attacking and defense skills, etc. are part of the reason why, and also because those height differences and things like that, and also so the coaches can't put children into positions at such a young age. So that's a few of the reasons. So what happens is that the kids rotate every quarter. And yes, you think, oh my goodness, how are they going to learn that? They do pick it up really quick. It's the parents and the adults who struggle with it more than the children. And they work like this. So there's a team one rotation and a team two rotation. And one team goes one way and the other team goes the other way, so that they don't have the same partner throughout the game. So they go like this. So they sort of work around the court. You'll see that they go the opposite way. Okay. Sometimes they will meet up with the same partner, so goal keep, goal shoot, and then they move on to wing D, goal A, but then they'll meet back up at centre. So it does happen occasionally, but not very often. So how do you know which rotation you're doing? How do you know which way the kids are moving? You look at the draw, okay? The draw has Brownsby 5-1 playing Albany 5-1. And the team that's on the left-hand side of the draw are doing the team one rotation, and the team on the right-hand side of the draw are doing the other rotation. If you're looking at the app, so this is what the draw looks like. So they're on team one rotation and they're on team two. Okay, and then if you're looking at the app, team one, the top team is team one and the bottom team is team two. Yeah, so that's how you work out which rotation you're doing. And then you put them in the book, and inside your book, this is what it looks like. This is one whole game. So up here you've got team one, team two. That's what it should say. Change one, change two, but it's team one, team two. And once you find out which side of the draw you're on, cross that the one that you're not, so that you're not filling in the wrong side. It's just a tip to make it easier. So this is the side that you're working on. So if you look at these rotations, they are different. Goal, shoot, win, attack. Can't see what's behind there, but here it's goal, shoot, goal, attack, centre, win, D. So cross out the one you're not, work on the one that you are. Then there's a couple of little keys to remember. So you always do players who were doing a full game the week before and then are doing a full game this week. Okay, so this is when you're trying to work out week two. So week one's pretty easy, but week two, you start with the kids that are doing the full game to a full game. Then you put in the kids who had a half game last week and then are having a full game this week, and then you put your half game kids in last. Okay, and then on this page in your book, it says a game for all. There's a box and it has this little key in it, and that's where you can find it. But the key is basically if you were on team one rotation and you're team one again, then you start the kids in the last position that they were in. If you were team one going to team two rotation on week two, then you'd start them in that first position they were the week before. But that only applies to your full game players, okay? Because they're the ones doing all four rotations, and this is to ensure that they don't end up repeating a whole lot of positions they did the week before. So how do we do this? And this is what I have a little video of, and this is what I go through very quickly on that little video. So you can refer to that video when you start, like probably when you get to week 2, and if you can't remember, you can refer to that little video on the website. So basically what you do in your book, you have a page right at the beginning where you can write down all your players, and then each week work out if you're going to have a full game, or who's going to have a full game, or who's going to have a half game. Most of you would probably have more than 7 players. If you've got 10 players, this is very difficult to do. So our suggestion is that you possibly sit a player out a week, because if you have 10, that's a lot of kids having half games every week. Up to you. You may have kids away, illnesses, injuries, whatever, but have a chat to the team and work out what works best for you. But as a coach or a manager, trying to do these rotations with 10 players is very difficult. So that's my suggestion, is to stand a player down each week. They have a day off, and then you're not managing so many team changes at the courts, and more kids get more full games. So I've worked out that I think I've got 9 players here. Lynette is having a full game, so that's what the 1 stands for. This is week 1, right? Week 1. So this should have the date, or you could just have week 1. So full game, full game, full game, full game, half game. Annie's away, and George is having a half game. So week 1, pretty easy. I just put the players in wherever I want to start them, or whatever you think they want to do. Those who are having a half game, you write it down. George, and he does goal D, goal keep. Sharon, she does wing D, centre. Bearing in mind we make the change at half time. Yeah, pretty straightforward. It's the next week that you start using this to work out where to put the players. So if I looked at the draw and I was team 1 again, then I would go, who is having a full game to a full game? I sit down and I work out who's away, or who's having a half game, who's having a full game, or whatever. If you've got 7 players, really easy. And then I'll go, okay, Gail is having a full game to a full game. I'm team 1 first week, team 2 the second week. Can anyone tell me where Gail should start? Bearing in mind, I look at the week before. You can put a microphone on if someone wants to be brave. So Gail would start at wing D, and that's how it works. So Gail goes, and this is where I get my writing is not so great. Okay, so Gail starts at wing D because that's where she ended up. So if you have a look, she did wing A, goal D, goal keep, wing D. Then she's doing wing D, centre, goal attack, goal shoot. That's all 7 positions in 2 weeks. So the next player is Peter. Peter ended up at wing attack, so he starts here. I'm just going to put Pete. It's not very good to E, but there's Pete, right? And Vicky, she ended up at goal attack, so she starts here. I'm just going to put Vic. This is all on this video as well. So that's how you do your full game to your full game players. Easy. If we were team 2 rotation, these players would start on the first position they were the week before. So Gail would start at wing attack again. And Pete would start at centre, because that's where he started the week before. And if you check those rotations, he's doing all of the 7 rotations in 2 weeks. And Vicky would start at goalkeeper again. But let's stick with this one week, team 1 to team 1. So I've done the full players, that's great, easy. Then I look at who had a half game last week and who's having a full game this week. So last week it was Sharon and it was George. Now George did goal D, goal keep. So what I'm looking for is for something for him that doesn't include goal D or goal keep. So this one's not quite so good because it contains that goal D, goal keep. So I could put him in here because it's got centre, goal attack, nothing that he did the week before. So you don't need to apply this to the half gamers, yeah? So you're just looking for something where they're not repeating. So let's put George in here, excuse the writing. All right, and then Sharon did wing D centre. So we could put her up here because that does not contain wing D centre. This does, that does. So this is the best option for Sharon. Okay, so I put Sharon up here. Now, I'll just put shares. And then I've got Annie as well, who was away last week, and she's back this week. I mean, I could put her in now, but what I might do is go, well, who's going to have a half game and work out where's the best place to put those two players. So last week I had, I've got Michelle who's having a half game this week, and I've got Lynette who's having a half game. So what I would do is look at what Lynette did last week, and she did these, and Michelle, and she did these. So these are the two sort of gaps I've got left. Michelle did wing D centre, so that's probably not so good, and that's not so good. However, she's having a half game. I could put Michelle here because she didn't do goal D, goal keep the week before, correct? Goal D, goal keep comes off at half time. And then Lynette hasn't done wing D centre, so that works out really well. That's Lynn, okay? And then so Annie would slot in down here. She was away the week before, so it doesn't matter. Now, if we were into week 4, I might look at what Annie did a couple of weeks back. If she was away last week, I might look back at what she did the week previous and try and fit her in where best I can. Now, after doing all of this, if I get to a point and Lynette does end up repeating something, don't worry about it, okay? Just put like a little asterisk on the team card, on the yellow team card, or make a little note to yourself that week 3, or the next week, Lynette will not do wing D centre. She will find her something that does not include that at all. Yeah, because we don't want you to spend hours and hours on this. We just want you to do the best you can with what you've got and fit them in. So the key is to remember to do these guys first, full game to full game, get them sorted, because they will end up repeating positions if you don't follow that key. And then working out your half game to full game and then putting the half game people in last. Like I say, if they do end up repeating something, don't stress. But the other thing I've got to check is that I've got 2 boys in this team, George and Peter. So from the first week, if you have a look, each quarter, goal D, centre, sweet, goal attack, goal keep, both in the goal circle, but at different ends of the courts, so that's okay. Wing D, goal shoot, fine, centre, wing attack. So I need to check this week as well. Peter, wing attack, George, centre, fine, goal D, goal attack, fine, goal keep, goal shoot, different ends of the court, fine, wing D, wing attack, okay. However, if we found that George or Pete had ended up in the goal shoot together, so one was down here playing goal keep and one was playing goal shoot, you would have to move one of those boys from that rotation, okay, so they don't end up in the goal circle together. And if by doing that you end up with some players repeating positions, again, don't stress, just put a little mark on your book or whatever that you will fix it the following week, that those kids do not repeat those positions. So what we're looking for, because we check this, that's why you do that team card, we check it to make sure that there is players not consistently doing the same positions week after week after week. If we see that, then we will ask what's going on. Okay. So, like I say, don't stress if you forget or you can't remember. Or, you know, if you make a mistake, don't sort of panic, just fix it up the following week. Check those boys. Use that team card. Okay, pick it up at the beginning of the game. You're basically writing everything that's in your book. You put the same thing on the team card. Okay, and then we check it from week to week. So if you have a look at your Pippa, she ended up at goal keep. She should have started at goal keep. She didn't, so she ended up repeating all those positions. And we would have been going, oi, what's going on there? Yeah. So yeah, so do that team card. Okay, so little tips for you too. So when the whistle blows at the end of the quarter, you can practice this with your team, get them to go back to their starting positions, take off their bib, put it on the ground, wear it like if they're goal shoot in a goal circle, and then they run to their next position, pick up the bib, and they put it on. Okay. chaos the first few weeks. The kids are going all over the show, and so are the parents, because nobody knows where everyone's going and what they're doing. So another tip, write the positions on the children's hand or arm so they know where they're going, and they will learn. And the parents will know where that child needs to move to or wherever. But like I say, the first few weeks, chaos because everyone's learning, and it takes a while for everyone to settle down, but they do pick it up very, very quickly. And the kids love it because they get to go to their favourite positions more often. If you're playing the game and a child is sick and comes off, put the person that you're replacing that player with, just put them into that rotation and they carry on with that same rotation, even if they've repeated those positions, it doesn't matter, that's fine. But nobody else changes positions, you're just changing like for like. If the injured player comes back, she just picks up where she left off. If you're shorter players, you've only got 6 players, you can leave off wing D or possibly wing attack. Michelle Wallace thinks wing attack's a good one to leave off. But all the players just sort of jump that position. No one does that position in the rotation, so they just go on to the next one. So yeah, that's if you've got 6 players. So check your yellow handbook. That is the place for all your, that's your Bible. All right, it's all in there. And if you have any questions or any issues, you can, the control room know what to do. Yeah, help you with
Sorry,
it.
can I just ask a question? The yellow box for the the Hibiscus Coast one, will they be at that control room, or do we need to come to North Harbour?
Yeah, okay. We'll get them all sent up there for you, and we usually have the names on the top so that the books don't go missing, or if they do go missing, we know who they belong to, and then we know everyone's got one as well.
Awesome, thank you.
And there's only one book per team, so whoever's going to do the rotations probably needs to hold on to it. That's why we have the yellow card. That's our record. So yeah, if you need, if you can't remember, we should have a record on the yellow card as well. But now, do not do spreadsheets. Okay, spreadsheets do not help. All right, you think you might have it all sussed out that they could do, no, don't worry about spreadsheets. Do this week to week, because you do not know who is going to be sick or away, or you don't know. Yeah, so just do it once you know who is available to play the game, complete it, and then do the team card when you get to the court. And sometimes you may even turn up at the court and find that there's a player that's missing and you're going to have to do changes, and that's absolutely fine. If somebody ends up repeating positions because a last minute change, just make that note to fix it up the following week. Yeah, but spreadsheets are not a good idea. And we don't want you to spend hours and hours doing this. It's just, you'll get the hang of it very quickly. Yeah, when you start doing it. Like I say, there's a little video that of the one I've just done, that little sheet, so that to help you, to remind you if you get stuck. Anybody else? All good? Fantastic. It's getting late. Let's finish up. Thank you very much for coming along this evening, and we look forward to seeing you all at the courts. Wonderful. Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you so much, Teresa.
No problems.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Good night.
Bye. Bye.